Hello YouTube. In this video I'm going to be reviewing Athlean-X best chest workout that he calls the perfect chest workout. So to me that's already a promise. I'm expecting to see something flawless, something that should be at a very high level of programming. Within this video I'm going to try and remain professional. I'm not going to attack him on his fraudulent behavior, on his use of fake plates in the past. This is not a character study, this is a program review. So I'm going to stick to the program. I'm going to disregard the person who wrote it, and I'm just going to focus on what's in it so that I can actually give you a detailed review and critique and base it off of logical facts. So, in this perfect chest workout, there are going to be several different movements to target the chest. And right off the bat, it's not a good thing because this is a body part split. It's the type of program that tells you to come in for a day and only train a certain muscle groups. I've made many videos about that. I've explained in length why it's not a good way to train your body, and if you want to learn more about it, it's in the description. But here, it's particularly egregious because in this case, not only is it a body part split, it is a body part split for the chest, and on top of that, there are multiple exercises for the chest, and it supposedly targets different areas. And that is presented as something that is actually good, because the very first sentence is, the classic theory of upper, middle, and lower chest exercises is a good start when putting together a chest workout. I think that's not true. I think that the first sentence is already wrong, because if you start thinking about training your body this way, you're never going to get results. You're constantly trying to isolate parts of bigger muscle groups. You're going to end up trying to train the outer sweep of the quad, the teardrop, that tiny muscle of the back here and there, and you're going to end up with what I call an isolationist mindset, where you're going to try and hit every single tiny piece, and you end up with a program that misses the big picture. And in bodybuilding, the big picture is compound movements, and it's movements that are going to allow you to accumulate a lot of tonnage quickly, effectively, and that is going to be quality. And you're going to see that with this program, it's the exact same problem. If there are any terms that I'm going to use you don't get, check the hypertrophy series playlist, I explain them all. Because when you critique a program, you have to utilize the correct and proper terms to attack certain notions or concepts to explain why they're not good. So, the entire idea of Athlean-X is that if you want a big chest, you need to isolate every single portion. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but the way he does it is the problem. He also states that just because you are going through a full range of motion doesn't mean that you're taking a muscle through the full range of motion. And that is also true. I don't disagree with that. It is correct. Too many people think that full range of motion equals better every single time, and that's not true. Partials have their place, and sometimes full range of motion is going to be detrimental. But as a rule of thumb, for any exercise you do with the same given weight, if you take it deeper, if you lengthen the range of motion, it's going to be more difficult. Is it going to be better for hypertrophy? That is not necessarily the case. So let's see where he takes it, because he says that, but he follows it up by saying that a lot of chest workouts ignore the anatomy of the chest and therefore ignore certain portions of the chest. And the main one he's actually mentioning here is the upper chest. So I'm going to skip through because this was the introduction of the article. If you go check it out, however, you will see that, and it's something that I've already mentioned and pointed out with my Jérémy Etier workout critique. It's basically a list of scientific articles, of scientific facts that are presented to tell you how good the program is going to be. And it's lengthy. It's actually, it's much bigger than the program in itself. It's basically a detailed anatomical breakdown of the chest, and he explains to you what each portion of the muscle does. And that's okay, I guess, but at the end of the day, a program should be able to stand on itself. You don't need to introduce it. So, after the lengthy introduction and the description of the philosophy behind the program, we actually get to the exercises. And there's nothing revolutionary or crazy with the program, but you're still going to see that there's a lot of issues here. So first off, you open the training with a bench press, and that's great. Excellent. If you're going to do a press, day, an upper day, I highly suggest you start either with a vertical or an horizontal press. You can, if you want, do an arm day that is a variation of the upper day where you start with a curl or a elbow flexion, but that is going to be much rarer. So here you start with a bench press. 4 sets of 6, 8, 10, 12. And he says perform as drop set with the second exercise. So here, 4 sets of 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm going to skip and go back up a tiny bit because this could either be really good or really bad. And so what he tells you to do here, from what I've gotten, from what I've seen when I go up, is that you are supposed to start with 6 because it's the very first number that I see here, and then you go all the way down to 12. So that would mean that you either send back because you get 6 reps, you could have gotten many much more, or that you start with 12 and that you progressively go down to 6, which would be much better. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that that's what he meant by it, even though it's not clear at all. So you're supposed to start with 12, then 10, then 8, then 6. So it's an evolving rep range, but the issue is that it's a fixated evolving rep range because the evolution is dictated to you. And the thing with evolving rep range is that you are supposed to sort of know what's going to happen on the day, but the fact that you don't have to abide by a state number is the reason why they are so good. Here, it's sort of taking away that magic from that method of training. 4 sets for the chest is great. That's relatively high volume because you're going to get an average tonnage of 40, but that's okay. That's good. That is good in isolation because so far it's okay, but you will see that it becomes a problem later. And then you're supposed to perform it as drop set with 1B, and 1B is horizontal cable or band crossovers. So you do your bench, and then you follow that up with what is essentially going to be a movement that is mostly going to be focused on the squeeze. I don't have an issue with that because it's not going to hinder progression, at least for the first set, meaning that if you reverse the order and you started with the crossovers, if you actually do it in a range of motion and with a certain weight that is tiring enough, it will impact the way you are able to press on the bench press. So be careful with that. The problem, if you follow it up, is that you understand that you're taxing the chest. So for the sets that are going to follow on the bench press, you're going to be less efficient. My issue with this method is that it's not putting priority on the bench press. And to me, strength work is a priority. You can do pre-activation, but nothing too taxing or fatiguing. So that's a problem. And you'll see that it becomes a bigger problem as we go. But it's explainable here because he doesn't consider the bench press to be the main movement of the day in reality. It's just the movement that opens the day. So that's one. Then you do upper chest and you do incline bench press. So that's your second press of the day, and it's an hybrid between vertical and horizontal. Okay, you do 4 sets of the exact same rep range. That is a ton of volume for the chest. That's, to me, is already enough. If you've watched the thumbnail, it's enough. You've taken care of the chest at this point, okay? He has you do another drop set with low to high cable or band crossovers. 4 sets of 15 reps. So again, something that is supposed to isolate the upper chest, etc. Okay? Here in this case, it's going to be really taxing, meaning that at this point, your chest is toast. That is only, of course, if you've used an amount of weight that is relevant enough. And I am fairly certain that most people who run that don't. Meaning that what they do is they take, because in reality, when you enter a workout like this, you do it once, it kicks your butt, you're sore for a week, and then you think, okay, next time I'm going to come in, I'm going to save myself for the first few sets. That way I can actually go through. And you think, okay, I actually respected the program, I did good. But in reality, you didn't. You did something pretty stupid because you wasted a ton of time doing junk volume. And I'm going to go back to that. But this is the problem with this program. There's way too many exercises, meaning that you can't push the intensity, you can't get quality tonnage that would actually damage the muscle fibers. So you end up just having to do a ton of movements to be able to get the same results. Let us continue. After that, you do weighted dip. You already did an horizontal press. Why do you need to do weighted dips? It's completely useless. And on top of that, you're doing the same amount, 4 sets of 6 to 12. It's way too much. At this point, you are overloading the chest way past its limits. There is no point. and you follow that with another set of crossovers, completely useless. But we're not done yet, because at the end, he has something called body command, which I guess is in line with his gimmick of training like an athlete. He has you do weighted push-ups. That's the fourth, if we count the incline bench press, horizontal press of the program. That is more volume than most people need in a week, but you're doing them all in a day. So it's a ton of wasted time, and in reality, it's just pushing, it's called pushing baby weight. Because if you can actually get through that program, you're not pushing any weight that is relevant or intense enough to make you grow. So you do your weighted push-ups, he has you do crossovers again, he's obsessed with crossovers for some reason, and that's it, that's the training. So to go back to the point that I didn't really mention, the reason why it is so bad, because it is a terrible program, let me be clear, is because the skeleton of something actually decent is there. But after that, he slapped an extra ton of volume, which ruined the entire thing. Because there are two choices. Either you're actually going to train properly, you're going to take the barbell bench press and the incline bench press to failure, and then afterwards, the weighted dip and the weighted push-ups are going to be just down the drain, you won't be able to perform it with any relevant intensity, and you're just going to waste your time. Or you're going to learn from these mistakes, you're going to adapt, and you're going to sandbag on the barbell bench press and on the incline bench press, which results in a ton of junk volume. And the reason why I tell you this is because in reality, if you just slashed 2/4 of the training, it would be great. If you opened with either a barbell bench press, a push-ups, or a dip, weighted of course, and just that, no need to superset with anything or drop sets or whatever, you do 4 sets of evolving rep range to failure, and then after that, the next set, you do 4 sets of upper chest, so incline bench press, and you actually superset that with the cable crossover, you'd be good. That would actually be a better training plan. And guess what? You just saved a ton of time. So now you can actually work other muscles instead of just working your chest, which in reality, this is not a chest workout because the triceps and the shoulders are also involved. So guess what? You could also isolate those muscles. You could do some lateral raises. You could do some face pulls. He loves them so much. Do some face pulls. After so much presses, your shoulders are going to need some balancing. You can do some forearm work. You can do some bicep work. You can actually get a ton more work done, relevant, tire other muscle groups, and get more results in less time if you don't actually follow the program the way it's written. And that's sort of sad. And all of that, if you know about programming, if you know about the baseline, if you know about intensity, that is crystal clear. And the fact that he's written this shows that he doesn't get that. So regardless of the accusations that are actually correct of him using fake weights, the biggest problem with that guy is that he doesn't know how to program, either for size or for strength, because this is not a good way to gain size on your chest. It's a waste of time. And on top of that, it doesn't push progression because you have to balance 4 different presses. How do you progressively overload on this? Every time you progressively overload on one thing, it's going to affect the other things and you're going to regress. So you're never going to move forward. So I'm going to end with this. This is not a good program. If you want better programs, there are plenty out there. You can check my program playlist. I have a ton of free programs that explain how to do it properly. I'm going to leave you with that. I'm actually going to end up reviewing all of his perfect workouts because as it turns out, they're not perfect. And I think pointing it out is going to help people realize that there are better ways to get big than just spending an hour and 30 minutes pumping your chest for no results. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.